Welcome to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success. I'm also excited to share my book, Straight from the Admissions Office, a review of my biggest takeaways from the first few hundred podcast episodes. It's packed with direct insights from admissions professionals and practical tips to help students and their families navigate the college admissions process. You can find all of the information in the show notes. Welcome to The Cap, where we are here to speak with college reps and other professionals in the field of college admissions to help answer all your questions and guide you through every step of the process. So if you're serious about college admissions, you've come to the right place. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. And now, here's your host, Dr. John Durante. Welcome to The Cap, the College Admissions Process Podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Derek Nettingham, who's the Director of Undergraduate Recruitment at the University of South Florida. Derek and I met at a recent college fair. Derek, it's so great to have you on. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, John. Thank you so much for having me on. Not too much pressure, right? I was looking through some of the other vids, and some of our colleagues in the state university system of Florida were on there. So I'm like, when I got the invitation, had to say yes.
Well, I'm so glad you said yes, and no pressure at all. We're just having a conversation to learn all about the great things that the University of South Florida has to offer. And so, Derek, the University of South Florida is a high-impact public research university with a strong focus on student success and innovation and so much more. How does that mission show up in the student experience, both in the classroom and through opportunities like research, service, or anything else you wish to share with us today?
Awesome question. Thank you. I love that question. I love that question. And usually when I'm talking with families and prospective students, I start off all of my speeches with two things. I let them know that when they're looking for a university experience, they should be looking for quality and resources. And USF has an abundance of both. So the biggest thing to kind of bring up right out the gate is that we do have three amazing campuses. So a lot of folks, when they hear us talk about one USF, they're like, well, what about, the Tampa campus? I'm like, we do have that. And we have the Sarasota-Manatee campus and we have the St. Petersburg campus. So we have around 37,000 undergraduate students, approximately 10,000 grad students, and then 1,700 non-degree, et cetera. So around 50,000 students is the full population. Something else to keep in mind with just the amazingness of the university and what students can expect is we do have an 11% international population. So we have minds from all over the world coming to USF and contributing to the scholastics that we have going on. Some other touch points is that we do have over 240 undergraduate majors and concentrations. So when you talk about high impact public university research, that's where the bulk of that is going to live, right? Our primary majors are going to be within the sciences. So a lot of our students do biology, health sciences, computer science, psychology, biomedical science, you name it. But our students do venture off. They do marketing. We do have great dance, music, the arts, but all kinds of options for students to take advantage of with a 22-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So you see why we do so well when you have an abundance of programs along with a small campus feel where students can find their niche wherever they are. Some extra touch points, of course, I won't go too long, as we do have over 700 clubs and organizations. And one of the funnest facts that I love talking about is that we do put on over 1,000 events annually. Now, what does that entail? That's anything from workshops to concerts to anything students possibly want. And when you talk about engagement, when you talk about fostering an environment where students are there to not only succeed academically, but personally, that's what that 1,000 events encompasses. The funny note we always toss out there, so I gotta say it, or my colleagues will be like, why didn't you say it? We do have things like an Oreo club. We have a club where the students get together, they test the latest and greatest Oreos, and then, they flex their culinary palates and critique and assess the Oreo for what it is, and we have things like an arm wrestling club. So anything students could possibly want to engage with, we have it. We are D1, so we have 19 NCAA sports available, and a brand new football stadium on the way. It's going to launch in 2027. So we've got more than enough things for students to engage with at USF, and that's why I always push quality and resources, and we just don't have a problem lacking in either.
Well, there's definitely a lot of quality and resources at the University of South Florida. You talk about, first of all, your three campuses throughout Florida,
Mhm.
approximately 37,000 undergrads, around 10,000 grads. And I appreciate you talking about how 11% of those students are from international locations. 240 undergraduate programs, over 700 clubs, definitely an abundance of program and something for everyone. Now, Derek, something that's very near and dear to our listeners is that holistic review process. So, in your application review, what qualities or experience help a student stand out as a strong fit for USF, particularly when it comes to your academic environment, diverse community, and those institutional values?
That's a fantastic question. I will say any college fair, any private visit, any panel we do, that is the biggest question we get. One, because we are one of the 12 SUS or state university system colleges and universities within the state of Florida. So Florida does have one of the highest ranked state university systems in the country. So when folks meet with us, they always want to know, how can I be competitive? And they see things, right? Like we are an AAU institution, which is the Association of American Universities. In short, that is a prestigious group of universities, just 71 of them across the United States and Canada, that get invited, invite only, based on their rigor, research, and academic prowess. So when they see things like that, students get nervous, but we always are transparent with what we're looking for while letting them know how to build their profile up. So I won't, sugarcoat it. We are an academically rigorous university, right? I think honesty is the best policy when looking at how to be competitive to get into the university that you want. So we let students know that. So on a 4.0 scale, we absolutely have roughly around a 4.3 average GPA. We do have a range SAT between a 1200 and a 1400, and our SAT ranges around a 27 to a 31. So those are things that we always toss out there to students preliminarily, because we let them know we're going to want to see a strong profile. Make sure right out the gate, freshman year in high school, and I even argue for most students, start in eighth grade. And we can talk about that if you want to dive deeper into it. Start off making sure that you're taking the right classes and you're doing well. That is the biggest thing and the biggest advice I tell students when they're looking at being competitive and what we'd be looking for. But I also let them know that there is more than one way to get to USF, where we have our Fuse program, which is for our transfer students. And it's a program, we have a relationship with the local, the colleges and community colleges through the state of Florida, where it's kind of a pathway program where students finish their associate's degree, they can basically automatically get into our schools. Of course, they have to have adequate GPAs and things like that, but we have multiple pathways to get to USF. So when we look at like the holistic review process and what makes an applicant competitive, we want students to keep in mind that they want to choose the path that is best for them. You may have folks that come in from your high school right out the gate in the fall. Strong profiles, they get admitted, we'll see you, right? But then it may be best for you to come in the summer. It may be best for you to come in the spring. Pick which profile fits you best. And once you pick that profile, know that that is where you need to be. You're not doing anything any less. You're not, oh, I'm a transfer student. Oh, I came in the summer and not the fall. No, that is your path, and we will base your selection and or I'll say rerouting off of that profile, and we'll always do it with respect and care.
Well, we appreciate that. It really sounds like you're meeting the students where they are. Now, you talked about the fact that you're one of 12 state colleges in the great state of Florida. Your GPA is an average of 4.3, SAT scores between a 1200 and 1400, and of course, your ACT between a 27 and a 31. Now, you mentioned your Fuse program, so I want to just expand upon that because there are a lot of students that are considering transferring that listen to the podcast. They've been sending me more and more emails. So, Derek, if a student is considering transferring to USF from a 2-year or a 4-year college, What does that pathway look like, and what support is available to help ensure a smooth transition?
So the transfer process is heavily based on credit completion. So I let students know anybody can be a transfer student, right? Where you can have someone in your class that's 30, you can have someone in your class that's 13. I mean, credits is what we're looking for. So with the pathways that we have, we're looking at what coursework you took prior. We're looking at how, of course, that pertains to the program that you're trying to get into. So the example I always use, I had a student one time took all kinds of amazing theater classes, phenomenal theater classes, did very well, but applied to the institution to be an engineer. So great progress thus far. And when you're trying to transfer as an engineer, you're essentially starting from square one. So with our transfer process, we look very heavily at what courses a student took, what program they're trying to go into, and the number of credits they're taking. So let's dive into that. If you're looking between 12 and 29 credits, that would be considered essentially a lower level transfer student, meaning that you still have to submit your standardized tests. So through the SUS, or the State University System of Florida, all the state universities require students to take standardized tests. So again, under 30 credits, you still will have to submit standardized tests. And we're looking for an overall GPA of around a 2.5 cumulative GPA because we want to know that you're going to do well, right? Where we don't want to, I tell folks it's unethical of me to accept you as a student when you've shown there's some struggles, because then what do? We take your tuition money, you don't do well. And the funnest thing I ask parents and students is, how much money do you get reimbursed for failing a class? You get no money back from failing a class. So the biggest thing to keep in mind is when you're taking these courses and you're doing all the classes that pertain to your interest level, make sure that if you're looking at transferring, that they're going to be able to make it to the program that you're applying for. So the next thing is to, of course, if you're over that, some students are like, well, I have way more than, 30 credits. Well, if you do that, then you'll typically be an upper or a mid-level student. With that, we tell students, please submit all transcripts and look at the curriculum of the program that you want to get into. Same deal. We want you to be above a 2.5, but you have to be very careful of what program you're selecting, because we don't want you to start from ground zero. We don't want you to come in technically as a transfer freshman because the credits don't match. And you do get a credit limit for how many you can take. So that's kind of our transfer process. We got a lot of options for students to undertake that. And of course, across all three campuses, we welcome students to go ahead and transfer. It's not just Tampa campus. They can go to our St. Pete campus. They can go to our Sarasota-Manatee campus. All have phenomenal programs that students can leverage to get where they need to go.
Well, I appreciate that. And you talked about the fact that if you're a transfer student and you have under 30 credits, you still have to students submit those standardized test scores. And so, speaking of standardized test scores, Derek, Florida's public universities, including USF, require the submission of standardized test scores. Now, this is going back to the undergraduate students, right? First time applicants. Can you explain what role test scores play in your holistic review process for those incoming freshmen?
Yeah. That is one that I think it can invoke a lot of nerves and anxiety in students. And there are some, phenomenal institutions across the country that have gone test optional. And we always keep going back to where we stand right nationally, where we let students know that, hey, we are still, again, one of the highest ranked state university systems in the country. And that's for a reason. And data backs it up. So credible studies already suggest that there's a good correlation between testing and having it as a legitimate predictor, let's say, of academic outcomes. We know it is not completely just 100% accurate. We know that it is not the only determinant of a student's ability to do well, but the research is there. So when you have scholars like, Heckman, you got Orzua, you've got folks that have already found that there is a significant correlation between educational attainment and labor market outcomes. That can at least maybe calm some of the nerves where we do it for a reason. It's not arbitrary. We don't want to hurt students. We're not trying to cause issues either. But with that said, we utilize them as a tool to determine what the best route will be for a student. So that's the way I reframe that. It's all about reframing the narrative, and it's not to see if we want you or not. We want to make sure that you're picking the route that you can flourish in the best. So keeping in mind now, we super score. And a lot of folks don't know that. And like, well, what does super scoring mean? Well, we'll let you take it as many times as you want, where we don't just throw it out there and say it's a one and done. You have to take the standardized test and, good luck. We wouldn't do that to students. You can take it as many times as you want, and we'll go a step further and look at the sub scores to then do that super scoring. So let's say you do really well on, let's say, the evidence-based reading and writing portion of the SAT, but you don't do so hot on the math, right? You take it again, do really well on the math, but who knows? You got sick, you had allergies, didn't do too well on the evidence-based reading and writing. That's fine. We're going to take that high score from the evidence-based reading and writing, and we're going to take that high score from the math and combine those to then, to add to your profile. So that's the biggest thing to keep in mind, and always let students know. And the biggest thing I push is start early. Take the PSAT. Start your junior year. Take it multiple times. If you do really, really well the first time, boom, you're done, right? But if you don't, you have plenty of time to correct without the anxiety. I will say one of the worst feelings for some students is to be in the spring of their senior year and not get the test score they wanted. Because now they may have one more shot. Maybe. Don't do that to yourself. Definitely start your junior year. Feel it out. See which tests you like. ACT and SAT are very different. And in the state of Florida, we also do the CLT. Those are all very different tests for students to take advantage of.
Well, I appreciate the advice of starting early and your explanation that in terms of testing, it does give an accurate prediction in terms of how you will perform once you're on a college campus. You talked about super scoring and how you definitely use that as a model. Great explanation, by the way. I was curious also with the test scores. Do you use the test scores themselves for any merit-based scholarships in your process?
Yes, yes. So we do. So we base a lot of our merit-based scholarships strictly off of that academic prowess. So we got a few different tiers. We have the presidential, that's about $16,000, so 4,000 per year. We have the directors, that's around 14,000 and about 3,500 per year. And then we have the scholars gold, so that's around 8,000 or 2,000 per year. But for our Floridians that may be tuning in, they already know about Florida Bright Futures and how they utilize GPA test scores. There's Florida Prepaid, where it's not necessarily connected to that, because that's something that students put in and parents put in for their student themselves. But all the other ones that are merit based, we do leverage those test scores in that GPA.
We appreciate that. And digging deeper in your overall review, when looking at an applicant's transcript, Derek, what are the main elements your team focuses on beyond that GPA? In other words, how do you evaluate course rigor, academic trends, and progression over 4 years of high school?
Yeah. I am a huge fan of AP, IB, and dual enrollment. That
Hmm.
is our jam. We love to see it. If you want to stand out, please do take those. Now the caveat to that is do well. I tell students, if you are an all AP student and you got a 2.0, and there's a student that took all kind of standard coursework and got a 4.0, the 4.0 is still going to be ahead of you. So know your strengths, know where you may need some work. If a full IB workload isn't for you, then you may need to choose a different route. But we love to see it if you're able to, especially dual enrollment. Fun hack for all those parents out there, for fun life hack. Dual enrollment is literally free college credits. So
Hmm.
if your high school offers dual enrollment, let your students take them. Try it out. That is college level curriculum that they're able to dive into for free. So evaluation wise, we absolutely do weight. So we look at weighted GPA. So when you see some of our stats and see our students are coming in with 4.5s, 4.4s, that's why, is we do weight because we want them to be credited for the rigor of what they took. So how it works is we do what's called quality points. So AP, IB, dual enrollment, and ACE, those will be one quality point, meaning we will add that to the points while we recalculate a student's GPA. Now, honors will do zero point 0.5. And then, of course, based on the school, based on the rigor of said school, we're very well aware. Our eval team is phenomenal. They know the schools that are around the country like the back of their hand. So they know if there is an extremely rigorous college prep school, that they will look at that while factoring in a student's eval. Now, we do have an appeals process. So I got to toss that out there, because if there is any concern or if a student wants us to relook at their profile, we have a robust review process for appeals that we can factor in some other elements if need be.
Well, we appreciate the comprehensive explanation, and especially about how you recalculate the GPA. Another big topic, Derek, that's been coming up a lot as I speak to students and parents is this thing called institutional priorities. Every university has priorities when shaping a class. What are some of USF's current institutional goals that may influence admissions decisions, such as growing certain academic programs, geographic diversity, or increasing enrollment on particular campuses?
I mean, to be quite honest, our goal right now is to continue being great. Not
Hmm.
just in the state university system, but in the country. I mean, we're on a phenomenal upward trend right now. We're one of the youngest universities in the state university system. I mean, when your university is founded in the 50s, right? And you're in the SUF with other institutions that go far back, almost a century, there's always some competition there, where a lot of those institutions have been in the game longer. Their structure is a little bit more solidified to the landscape, and they've weathered the storm of a lot of the ups and downs. But with us, we continue to be with the most amazing folks, and contribute in a meaningful way. So everything from academically, I mean, this year it was, voted that we had the number one med program in the state of Florida. So shout out. And then also, like I noted before, doing things like breaking ground on a brand new stadium in 2027. But then you also have things like we just implemented our new Bellini College, where we have the Bellini College of AI as a focus, right? And those are the things that we've been doing and continue to do, and that's our goal. So if students want to be a part of a university that they can continue to contribute to a world-class student body, that's what we're looking for. And that can look a lot of different ways. There's not just one type of student that we're looking at bringing in. So as long as a student has that strong profile and they're doing great things, not just in the classroom, but outside, that's going to be what we're looking for to continue the trajectory we're on.
Well, thank you for that. And you mentioned the Bellini College with AI as a focus. So, with the rise of AI, Derek, in writing and academics especially, how is USF's admissions team approaching application essays and other materials in a way that promotes authenticity and fairness?
Mm. So yeah, we do get this question a lot as well, especially well, with current times and the boom of AI and folks using it in a lot of different ways. I'll just say that.
Hmm,
um,
absolutely.
right. I'll say that while we don't require an essay, we still do encourage students to make sure they're writing their own material, and we're making sure that students are doing what they need to do to be ethical through their application process. To be quite blunt, the way one of my mentors described it, which is really cool because I'm like, I'm going to use that. Um, the software that is available to do these things, right? Then there's always going to be software that's going to be able to identify what's being done. You can't have the advancement of software doing one thing without there being comparable software that is there to identify what's happening. So we let students know that there is no benefit to being academically dishonest in any way. We do have robust technology that can figure that out and will. And there's no reason for a student to be put in a position where we have to either rescind admission or to scrap their profile outright. So please, please, I'm a huge advocate of utilizing technology growth. If there's a way that AI can bolster your ability to put forth the strongest application, of course use it. But when you start getting into the realm of having it do everything for you,
Right.
spoiler alert, we can absolutely see, we can tell, we can figure it out. But I'm always an advocate of students leveraging tools that can help them be great.
That's awesome. And you're absolutely right. There are tools that can help you with things, but there's also tools that can detect those same things. So students beware. And Derek, affordability, of course, is always top of mind for so many families out there. How does USF approach financial aid, including merit-based scholarships and need-based support? And are there particular programs or grants families should be aware of?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I'll say outside of what it takes to get into the university, the next big one, I mean, you should see our financial aid sessions at admitted student days. Like
Hmm.
they last forever. Um, so yes, so I'll kind of do it in a two-pronged way. And the reason why I do it is again because we are a state university, meaning there are a suite of programs and resources that are specifically targeted toward are Floridians. And that is something that students and families should know, especially if they are in the state of Florida and want to be a part of the SUS. So with that, there's Florida Bright Futures, which essentially they use a student's GPA and their test score performance to get a certain volume of financial aid, whether it be partial or full. All students, it's fair game. As long as you're a Florida resident, it's fair game. You just have to meet the metrics. Likewise, there's Florida Prepaid. So that is a contribution program where families are contributing to a sort of pot, and then they can utilize that to help pay for their students' academic goals. And then we have our USF specific ones, like I noted, our presidential, our directors, our scholars. Those are all scholarships that are merit based, meaning you're eligible for them right out the gate. You meet the deadlines, and of course, you have the profile. We let students know that those do ebb and flow based on the year of what we're looking for them because it has to make sense for the strength of that pool. So the example I use is if we have the criteria, meaning that all students with a 3.5 and above get the scholarship, and we bring in a freshman class that most, if not all, are above a 3.5, we can't give everyone a scholarship. We would love to, but we
Hmm.
can't. So we have to adjust based on the strength of the applicant pool, and we make that very known on our website as well. And then you have the more the other options that are on campus. So I'm always a big advocate of students being work study, meaning if there's work study positions on campus, go ahead and get those. Likewise, you can be like an RA on campus. I was an RA when I was in school, one of the best experiences of my collegiate life. And not to mention, you do get free room and board.
Hmm.
So there are lots of opportunities for students to pay for their academic career, and we do tell students you're gonna have to dig too. So it's a mutual undertaking. There's not gonna be a situation where money just falls from the sky. You're gonna have to look for it, and this is the biggest one, biggest takeaway. You're gonna have to write essays. A lot of students don't want to write essays, and they're like, well, I just want to get this scholarship. A lot of scholarships are going to require you to write an essay. So if you get your writing skills to a space where they're strong, adequate, and you can create a well written piece of work, you're likely going to see your eligibility for a lot of scholarships increase. So that's just another tip of the trade, if you will,
Hmm.
where a lot of folks are like, how do we get money? Well, get to writing and write strong essays, and you'll likely have a lot of opportunities to get that on top of the merit based options that we have.
Well, that's definitely great advice. And Derek, this has been a tremendous conversation. I always like to ask the question before we approach the end of it. Is there a question that I didn't ask you today that you wish I had, or even a topic that simply didn't come up in the conversation that you'd like to leave with our listeners now?
The biggest thing that I'll address that a lot of our prospective students want to know is, can you apply to any of our three campuses? And they want to know which one is the best. They're always like, which one is the best? Um, so I always jump out and like, hey, let me just get to it, right? The answer is yes, you can apply to any one of our campuses. And the answer to which one is the best, you probably already know what I'm going to say. They're all awesome. It depends on
Hmm.
what you want. So Tampa is going to be our largest. That one, if you're looking for a large kind of urban university setting right there in the city, boom, Tampa will be for you. St. Pete, man, that's where the city meets the sand. You're literally right off the beach. If you're looking to be in a medium sized university setting with lots of social engagement, service, and again, in a vibrant community and very popular community in the state of Florida, St. Pete will be for you. And then you have Sarasota-Manatee, where it's more of the homey feel, where it's our smallest campus, only one residence hall on campus, and those students traditionally kind of want a smaller university feel. All campuses are gorgeous. Whether you are in Tampa and want to go to, we have a mini beach on campus that has, I'm talking sand, hammocks, the whole
Hmm.
nine. Or if you want to go to St. Pete and go over by the water and literally see dolphins coming up and just eating fish in the morning, or if you want to be in Sarasota Manatee, which again is further south, and their feel is a little bit more homey, right? Where you could see your professor in a dining hall and you can see them in the classroom, where it's a little bit more hands on. We've got those options, and you can do that with all three. Each term, you're eligible to switch if you would like. And yes, you can take classes at different campuses while having one as your home campus.
Well, we appreciate the overview. And again, this has been an awesome conversation, Derek. Unfortunately, it does lead us to that last question, which is, what are your top three pieces of advice for students and their families getting ready for the college admissions process?
Yes, the big three, the big three. So, any orientation session, any private visit, I always say these three. The first one is do your own research, please, while looking for a university home. Hearsay is the most powerful way students acquire admissions information, and far too often, the information they get is incorrect or half complete. Getting something like a deadline wrong or misreading criteria can cost you your spot at the university of your dreams. So please, please do your own research, and like you would in the classroom, do your own homework. The next
Hmm.
one is fill your own application out. This may be more of a personal pet peeve, but parents, we love you. We love you to death. You are the reason why these students are here, our guardians. We appreciate you. And please, please, please don't be the sole individual filling out your student's application. The reason why is because when you get to the point where FERPA kicks in and things transition, we see so many students looking like deers in the headlight because they've not been doing their application, and we're calling them. We're not calling the parent anymore. So while it may be very tempting when you see your eager scholar looking to apply to fill it out for them,
Hmm.
please, we'd rather you start early and have them do it and you can support them through it than to do it all by yourself. It just doesn't go well. And then last but not least, have fun. These are arguably going to be some of the most exciting years of your young life. And I mean, we are a gateway to more adventures than you can possibly imagine. We want you to dial in, do good work, and enjoy the ride. And if you really want to sweeten the deal, do that at the University of South Florida.
That's awesome. We definitely want you to enjoy the ride. And you have done the University of South Florida proud, Derek. Obviously, they're so lucky to have you, as were we during this conversation. I do hope to have you again in the future. Thank you so much for your time today, Derek.
Thanks, John.
My pleasure. And to everyone out there, good luck with the college search. Take care, all, and best wishes. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please don't forget to tell a friend and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am your host, John Durante, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The CAP. Thank you for listening to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success.